No, I am not overdressed. I know in many places around the country and around the world in October, Northern Hemisphere anyway, October gets pretty chilly. But we've had weeks and weeks and weeks of well over 90 uh, degrees in the afternoon here in Sacramento. And I'm getting used to my blood's all thin. And it's not even all that cold. Right now it's like 46 when we woke up. But uh, the house is really chilly. And Constance and I just got back from a little trip to Trader Joe's. Um, and so that's why I'm a little bit late this morning. Uh, every morning, Constance and I watch Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez on Democracy Now, which is a show that's usually on public television. And uh, obviously, if you watch any kind of news program, uh, you're aware of the terrible situation going on in the in the Middle East. And I sort of titled, and I'm just an observer here, okay? And uh, but it's pretty easy to see genocide when it's going on, and anyone that I'm having little patience with those that I hear trying to justify it or downplay it. Uh, if I would have seen what was going on in Germany in the 40s, I would have said the same thing. Okay, I would have. Uh, I know genocide when I see it, and but obviously there's a lot of people who just are looking but are not seeing it. Anyway, it didn't start. All of this didn't start on October 7th of last year. Okay. It didn't even start in 1948, when the first forcible removal of a great many people uh, established, the state of Israel. It, it didn't even it didn't even start when the British took over the area and tried to colonialize the area. Uh, it started about 530 BC, okay. And which sort of shows the enduring uh, virtue of ignorance and greed mixed with religion. Now, in my book, An Accidental Christ, um, I take another look at what might have been, or one scenario that might have been in sort of a historic or objective explanation of a non-supernatural uh, explanation of the events surrounding at least the story of Jesus and the foundation of Christianity. And in it, I take the characters of Jesus, his family, uh, including the family friends of Joseph of Arimathea, who was an influential member of the Sanhedrin and occupied occupied Israel, Judea, the whole area known as Palestine in those days. Um, and the fact that it was it was seen by some to be politically necessary to have a revolt. And all of this, and we're talking first century talk now, okay? A revolt against Roman occupation, a revolt against the installation of an Arab king, uh, Herod, okay, who was just a puppet of Rome, and an attempt on the part of certain influential uh, forces to overthrow that occupation. They couldn't do it militarily, but the idea of putting forth uh, an actual hereditary king of the area that they could form a government around. Okay, yeah, if they convince enough people that, hey, no, we've got a real king of the Jews of our own, somebody uh, a direct descendant of David, a direct descendant of Solomon, a direct descent. Not only that, but maybe even a direct descendant of the first king of Israel, Saul. Um, and if we could find somebody whose bloodline, prove that, and if we could find a charismatic character or a talented a doctor healer kind of guy who's already sort of respected and comes from a great rich family, we might be able to pull this off. So that's sort of the premise of this. But throughout this fiction, throughout this novel, I try in the dialogue and the setup to put in solid sort of historical perspectives on that time. And I wrote this over many years. Okay, I been writing this, and the newest, this is the most complete edition, An Accidental Christ, came out recently. And there's a scene where Jesus, a very well educated guy, a guy who's more or less set up because of his birthright. His father was of the tribe of Judah, and it was a wealthy, literally nobility, Jewish nobility. Both he and his mother were. They were okay. Joseph, the father of the from the tribe of Judah or David, and his mother from the tribe of Benjamin, who gave Israel their first king. Their first king. See, so you got an heir, a bloodline, provable vine of blood of Israel's first king and their second king. King Saul, King David. It's like David and Saul married each other and gave birth to this guy. Okay, and so we could probably capture the imagination of enough people to have a legitimate revolt, to put in a legitimate replacement government. But Jesus, who just was, in a sense, we could say, call the Essenes a mystery school adept, okay? But he was also a real life physician. and a talented one. Okay. And so he'd been raised since a kid to be properly educated, just in the same way King Charles, kind of went to the best schools. And in Jesus's case, that was in Egypt. Okay. It's where the family moved. The Gospels hint at this whole story. Okay. Um, but he's being there's this scene where he's being brought in to the plot. Okay, he'd been at a Mount Carmel monastery studying medicine and stuff all this time. Uh, but now he was coming of age, and he had a crazy ass cousin, John the Baptist, who was also being kind of set up for uh, this whole thing because he had influential and hereditary parents too, but Jesus's bloodline ran closer to the source, and so John the Baptist sort of flipped out and became a wonderful holy man, crazy guy, and so he started to like pull the trigger on the revolution prematurely, and Jesus had to sort of jump in, and the main plotters had to kind of explain it to Jesus what was going on. And the main head plotter was Joseph of Arimathea, or Joseph of Ramtha, is how we call it. And Jesus was kind of arguing with him. He says, religion and politics don't mix here. It's a bad combo. And he says, "Forgive my insolence, Lord Joseph," Jesus said. "Are we not attempting to openly wed the clandestine lovers of government and religion? If we succeed, will we not be creating the great devil? If that is the case, I believe the king should fear most the madness of his own subjects." Joseph turned and looked at Clopas, then broke into a broad smile. "Wise indeed is the monarch who would spurn the kingdom of fools." Then everyone in the room, except Jesus, laughed as if they understood the subtle meaning of Joseph's statement. "Yes," Joseph answered, "on the surface, it will appear to the world that our Davidic, as in King David, our Davidic kingdom is a theocracy. But for any kingdom to exist, it must first appear to be something." Joseph returned to his seat and drew it closer to Jesus. "You are a well-educated man. I have no doubt that you are aware that the legendary kingdoms of David and Solomon, if they ever existed at all, bore little resemblance to the fanciful scriptural accounts. We both know that much of what is commonly believed to have been the golden age of ancient Israel is fiction. A fantasy spun by the melancholy poets of the Babylonian captivity. A dream to bring hope to the diverse captives of that cruel era. When great Cyrus conquered Babylon, he found it necessary to expeditiously rid himself of our ancestors and other slaves that Nebuchadnezzar had captured from foreign lands. After 2 generations, our forefathers had become too expensive to feed and too numerous to house. Uncle Clopas laughingly interjected. Joseph did not acknowledge the interruption. Darius, Cyrus's successor, feared cultural unrest if he were to attempt to assimilate this throng into Babylonian society. He certainly did not want to bring them back to Persia. So he conspired with the holy man Nehemiah and the scribe Ezra to create a single identity for these poor souls. In order to give them a future, it was necessary to create for them a past. So, to explain the diversity of their languages, dialects, and customs, Ezra convinced them that each group sprang from one of 12 distinctive tribes of mythological Hebrews. Clopas interjected again. This is his uncle who's actually telling this story. And there was a Clopas, okay, in the historical Jesus. Clopas interrupted. Thus was Moses drawn not from the ancient imaginary bulrushes of the Nile, but from the very real imaginations of good men who wished to free an assortment of people possessing no cultural memory whatsoever. Joseph smiled warmly at Clopas. Thank you, Clopas. Yes, exactly. The children of the captivity eagerly accepted this vision with great fervor and believed with all their hearts that they were the children of the mythological patriarchs. The scribe Ezra gathered scraps of local legends and myths that still echoed in the minds of the various, quote, tribes, and retold the stories as the 5 books of Moses. To further bolster the self-identity of the tribes, King Darius freed them to return to their, quote, homeland, an area that was ruled by no king and defended by no army. He gave them Palestine. If they promised immediately to leave Babylon. Uncle Clopas cleared his throat, stood up, and it was obvious that he had rehearsed what he was about to say. He delivered his words with the accentuation of a schoolmaster. Quote, "There was indeed an exodus, my lords, but the exodus was from Babylon, not from Egypt. In a word, my lords, our magnificent religion and the nations of Israel and Judea are children of a dream, the awkward consequence of expedient Persian politics." Jesus knew what these men said were true. Of all the cults, the Carmelites had no delusions concerning the secret history of the faith. The room remained silent for a moment. Then Joseph of Ramtha spoke directly to Jesus. "However, you, my Lord, are both real and a fantasy. History and myth unite in your blood. You are not only a real king, but also king of a dream, the rightful heir to a kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. But surely there have been others in the past who could have been put forth as king," Jesus protested. "My grandfather, Heli, or my father." And then Clopas interrupts with a lengthy and detailed trip through the mythological family trees of Jesus, and it goes on, and of course he gets drawn into the plot. But anyway, the book is an an accidental Christ. Uh, as I was preparing it for the new expanded edition of it, uh, I was bombarded daily with the news that made it seem to me uh, even more ironic and appropriate to revisit that story. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm staying bundled up until the house warms up a little bit more, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Hope I didn't bore you uh, with this point of view, but I got very impatient with what I heard. Some people who should know better. Uh, anyway, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.